Well, we're joined again by Alex Vezina, the CEO of Prepared Canada. And I sent him an email in regards to this article that I posted on Facebook in regards to science says it's time to relax the restrictions and open things up. And Alex, you called me and said the guy's wrong and you wanted to make some comments. Please, what are your comments?
Yeah. So first of all, what are your thoughts on this so I can kind of get an idea for your exact thoughts? Because you just sent me it and I wasn't sure exactly what your thoughts were.
I thought it was an intriguing, slightly different, if not very different point of view that said that what we should do is open things up and allow herd immunity to exist or to be created.
Okay. Well, I mean, you and I talked about that several times, but in our early March and a few months ago talks. I told you
when you called me, you said that you disagreed with what he had to say and you thought he was picking facts.
Yeah, so there's some serious picking and choosing of facts in here. So there's a big reference on the death rates for people who are in a non-vulnerable age category. So there's a lot of talk about young people and people who are between the ages of like 20 and 40. And those stats are all very low, but everyone knows that those stats are going to be low. There's no real reference to the total death percentage. So the actual percentage of people that this is lethal for. And there's no reference at all to the mortality percentage for the elderly. So there's some serious picking and choosing of facts here. A significant portion of his argument in this piece is that this thing is way less deadly than we thought it was, but he's not looking at the death numbers. So that's
How does he say it's less deadly if he's not looking at the death numbers?
Well, he's not looking at the death numbers that are relevant, which is the ones for the elderly, which is the whole point behind doing this. Like the whole argument as to why you do any form of containment measure is to protect the people that you think are going to die, which with a respiratory virus like this, something with a less than 10% fatality rate, but probably more than 1%, is not going to be all of your young and healthy. It's going to be your elderly. So he's saying that the young and healthy tend not to die from this because the young and healthy tend not to die from anything that's viral like this with this type of mortality rate, which is everybody's known and no one is contested. So he's using a fact that no one is contested to make an argument that I think is mischaracterizing the issue. There is no reference to the total number of dead in New York, which is what he's talking about. None of the actual numbers around the actual dead are being talked about, only the ones with specific small subcases that help prove his point. Picking and choosing data are being referenced, which just irritates me because this person is supposedly a doctor and they're supposed to not make political arguments. And, anyways.
And so you think he's making a political argument, not a public health argument?
Frankly, yes. And further, another significant portion of this is talking about how we've had to cancel elective surgeries and some stuff has fell through the cracks because that's apparently because of the lockdown. No, that happens when you have an overcapacity hospital, regardless of how it happens. Whether or not they or we, because this is talking about New York, whether or not they lock down, or we, because you can read the same thing in the lines with Canada's response, whether or not we lock down, you are going to have people die from things being missed in the medical system because it's overcapacity. That has everything to do with the medical system being overcapacity and nothing to do with locking down your country. Except that if your medical system was more overcapacity, even more people would be dying from emergency surgeries not being done because they would be missed because there's too many people in the hospital and triage becomes necessary. So his argument is, I think this is actually a very appropriate straw man. But they're so wrong. That irritates me as well. There are reasons for this argument. Like there is a way to make the herd immunity argument. It's just not like this. So
how would you make the herd immunity argument?
Well, this is really callous, but the way you make the herd immunity argument is you say that the losses are acceptable. Anytime that strategy is relevant, it's because you have to accept a loss somewhere. If there's a perfect decision, you're not doing strategy, you're just making the right choice. When you have matters of risk, of not knowing what the correct answer is, etc., then you have assumed losses. Right. So if you're saying that all of the elderly are an assumed loss, and I'm willing to take that for the economic to prevent the economic damage I'm making, so like economic over health style argument, that is an argument. Most people don't agree with the argument, but it is an argument, and you can argue that. You can look at the economic fallout. You can talk about, we're going to have X number of people that feel destitute, X number of apparent suicides, X number of social issues, X number of businesses bankrupt, et cetera, strife, hardship, whatever, for the next 3 decades, whatever. You can make that argument and compare it against the healthcare impact of the near future mass death of your elderly. You can do that argument. And that's the argument you're hearing from a lot of people, which the reason why people don't tend to agree with that argument is because especially in Canada, overarching opinion is grandpa is more important than money, or grandma is more important than money, right? And you've said that. You said we need what was the thing you said in the first or second talk we did? The elderly are demanding our help. They're demanding our respect. They're demanding our care, right? Like that's what everyone's been saying. So if you disagree with it, make the counter argument. Tell me why grandpa needs to die so that I can go back to work, or don't waste my time with cherry picking stats trying to characterize it as something else. Like,
Vezina, what? For your comments, I appreciate it.
Thanks. You got me ranting again, Brian.
That's good.
Okay.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.